Ready. We're now called to order the Park Road School District Business Meeting, the May 26, 2026, business meeting at 6:05 p.m. We will start with a land acknowledgement read by Director Galavis.
The spirit of acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect, connection across differences. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. The Park Rose Board of Education begins this effort by acknowledging that we are gathering on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Chinook, Multnomah, Cathlamet, Clackamas, Cowlitz, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Malala, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River in the Portland area. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. We acknowledge them as the past and future caretakers of this land.
Thank you, Director Galavis. So we don't have our student representatives here, but just as an FYI, they are welcome to make a second motion, though they're not voting members of the board. So with that being said, do I hear a motion to approve or amend tonight's meeting agenda?
Motion to approve tonight's meeting.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. All right, so now for the best part of tonight's meeting, retiree recognitions, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Superintendent. So
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It is my honor and pleasure to read some notes. I'm going to start with our folks from the high school who are being recognized tonight as retirees. Molly is, I believe, en route back from Disneyland. So I'm going to read her words to honor first Tracy Grant. So Tracy, I'm going to read Molly's notes and then I have a few words I'd love to add to that. Tracy has had an extraordinary impact through her many years at Park Rose High School. She has been far more than a counselor. She's been a trusted mentor, compassionate listener, fierce advocate, and a constant source of encouragement for generations of students and colleagues. Her kindness, wisdom, and unwavering commitment played a critical role in the culture of Park Rose and created a lasting sense of community and belonging for so many. The positive influence Tracy has had on students' lives cannot be measured. She celebrated successes, supported students through challenges, and made our students feel seen, valued, and cared for every single day. I'm incredibly grateful for all Tracy has given to the Park Rose community over the years. Her legacy will continue to live on through all of the students she supported. I wish her nothing but happiness in retirement, and she is already deeply missed. Thank you so much, Tracy. We have roses for our retirees except for one, because I know one of them is actually going to be moving and we're not going to get you a rose, we're going to give you something else. Should I hand them out one at a time when we take a photo?
Yeah,
Does that sound good? Okay.
and if Tracy wants to share anything about her
Tracy,
experience.
come on up. Is it? Oh, focus on your words. Thank you.
Let's get a photo.
All right, let's get a photo.
Cheese. Beautiful.
It has been great. I worked the last 27 years at Park Rose High School and have loved it. Prior to that, several years, I also spent 2.5 years at Sacramento, where I started my counseling career. So full circle. Started here, ended here. It's been great.
Next, we have Roscoe Ferschel, Park Rose High School. Roscoe is a dedicated math teacher who started at Park Rose in 2003 and is best known for his success as an upper-level math teacher. He created a classroom environment where students were both challenged and supported, pushing them to think critically while making learning engaging and enjoyable. His passion for teaching and commitment to student success helped countless students grow their math confidence and achievement. Roscoe's great sense of humor, quick wit, and ability to connect with students made his classroom a place students enjoyed. I am grateful for all Roscoe contributed over the years, and I wish him all the best in this next chapter. Let's get Roscoe.
Cheese. Thank you.
Service. Okay, Sam, you want to say a few words for Joe now?
I'd love to. So now. I'm so glad that you chose this year to be with me. I kind of thought that this would really happen together. We have so much in common, and I sat around thinking, what am I gonna say about you? But it was the thought process of teaching, and I kept thinking, where do I want to go when I want peace and calm for myself during my workday? It's Jonah's room. And even when she's teaching, it's calm. Where do I want to go when I want to see teaching being done that really is perfection? And it's your room. Where do I want to go when I see strategies and differentiation? It's Jonah's room. You even talked about it today. And you brought in things, I mean, who doesn't love the 80s? I love the 80s music. I love 80s clothes. But I also love some of the strategies that we've used when we talk in the 80s, and it doesn't go unseen. And when you're looking at a child who needs that extra help, and you don't know what to do, she steps into this little closet. But when it opens up, it's like Oz. You open up and it turns into this gigantic room filled with supplies that meets the needs of all of the kids. And it comes out, and you even mentioned board, Velcro, or
Felt board, flannel board.
flannel board. And I'm like, yeah. And it works. When kids go into your room and they go in with the cuckoo cucciness and they come out 1 or 2 grade levels ahead, that's what you produce out of your classroom. You are an amazing teacher. And I tell you truly in my heart, you should mentor teachers. And you're like, not a chance. Still not a chance. Not a chance. But I'm telling you, people don't see you. They see the person in the hall, but in the classroom, Janelle is sitting on the floor with her arms around the kids. She is telling them they can do it. She is telling them that she cares about them and she loves them. And that to me is a true educator. By far, I would have no problem with my son in your classroom. And congratulations, you did this. 38 years, I believe. Congratulations to you.
If you want to come to be in the photo.
Oh, awesome.
And I just noticed, I don't know if you're a Barbra Streisand fan, but this is a Barbra Streisand rose.
Where am I? Feel like I'm with my parents.
And you're welcome to share.
No, it's been 28 years in Park Rose. Prior to that, I had 10 years in the state of Delaware for Cesar Rodney School District. And I am a primary teacher through and through who has high expectations for all, myself, my colleagues, and of course, my students, so, and families. High expectations for families, so. Thanks so much.
You wanna do Jessica
Did you
now?
next?
Yep. Let's
I'll let
see if
her
we can
speak.
hear you, Jessica.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yay. Hi, Karen. I'm so sorry that I'm not there. I have had the pleasure of working with Karen in a few different roles as a coach for like a year and a half, and then as an admin this last year. And we are losing such a valuable resource at Shaver in Karen. Her historical knowledge of the community, her just insight to everything that is happening at Shaver is not something that is easily passed on. And it's something that really individuals hold. I've had the pleasure of watching Karen support in testing. I've had the pleasure of watching Karen like do cooking lessons to support our ELD students and really diving into the hands-on practice of learning. And I've also this year had the opportunity to watch Karen like take new things that she's learning and we've been learning in PD and add them into her teaching. And I can't express my gratitude for the service that you have done at Shaver, Karen. Not only in the school, but outside of the school, working on the community garden, getting your certification to be a garden educator. I do hope that you come back at some point in your retirement to support with that garden and keep it growing and blooming. And just know that you are truly going to be missed in Shaver over these next years that we don't have you.
Thank you.
I would just also say, one of the things I've always admired about you, Karen, is you have been a fierce advocate for the language learners, not only at Shaver, but in our district. And I think your spirit will be missed in a way. You've always been kids first and so appreciated, and I'm just gonna miss you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have anything you want to share?
Let's see, I started at Shaver 12 years ago. Actually, I can say, I'm actually a Park Rose High School graduate. Got my start in Spanish with Mr. Horswell and have used that quite a few years now. Before I was in Park Rose, I was a teaching assistant in Reynolds for 10 years. And let me tell you, Park Rose is so much better of a district to work for. So yay, the school board, superintendent, everybody, and it's been fabulous. I will really miss teaching, but I won't miss subbing on the days when we can't have subs. Everything else I will miss.
Thanks, Karen. Okay. One more, right? One more. I didn't miss anybody. So I have the pleasure to speak about Sam Regasis, who is our wonderful principal at Russell Elementary. And I had the unique opportunity to meet Sam when she came to Park Rose through a colleague. I actually was working with someone here at Park Rose, and the Russell principalship came available. And he said, "You need to meet Sam," who was at the time in Portland Public Schools at James John. And so Sam fortunately applied, and it was actually, if I remember right, I was in my district director role at the time. And my predecessor, Karen Gray, said, "You're going to be in charge of hiring." So technically, Sam, you were the first person that I had the pleasure to hire the principal in Park Rose. And so it seems fitting that I offer this tribute to you. You're going to be missed by all of us. You've been a mentor to so many leaders. I think that one thing that hasn't been noticed by many is that you've been a friend and also a really great colleague to your peers. And I really appreciate that, because you've helped some new principals, some young principals learn the role. And some of that is just due to your time and dedication that you offered to them. You weren't assigned the role, you took on that role. And I think that's just been a beautiful part of your time here. And obviously, one of the things I've always admired about your time is that you're an incredibly hard worker. You take work really seriously. And I actually want to follow you in 6 months to see if you're actually relaxing and enjoying retirement, because I know that that's in you to, being on time, doing your job. You definitely win most dependable award. You've just been there through and through. through some tough times. You came into the district just prior to COVID, and you were so helpful during a time of crisis where you kept your head straight. You were thinking about kids the whole time, and I'll just never forget those initial days when we were scrambling around and you brought people together and you were organized and you had a plan. And I just remember those moments of you as a leader really fondly. So I want to thank you for that. Obviously, your service to Russell and the broader community of Russell, you've brought things to Russell that will leave a legacy, right? You see the whole back area where this big landscaping project's taking place. And I know that you've worked with lots of people to do that, but that's another thing that when you came from James John that people told me about you is that you would bring things to the school community, and you've definitely done that, and you will leave a legacy there. And I hope that your leadership just transcends into the school and helps whoever that new leader is, because they deserve a great leader, and I'm really, really happy for you, because another thing that I know about you is how much you love your family. And I've always appreciated that we share that value of family and balancing that with work, even though we both like to work hard and do our jobs. And you've done a really good job of modeling being a wonderful family member, but also being a great professional. So I just want to thank you and honor you, and let's give Sam a big gift card. Sam is moving to Costa Rica. So
Costa Rica.
no.
Where are you going to be in Costa Rica?
In Santa Elena,
Okay.
right outside Santa Elena.
Yeah, nice.
It's very nice. And I haven't counted the days yet, but I do know that we're not leaving. Well, on Sunday when I booked my one-way tickets. Thank you. You bet. Well, it's funny because you guys have heard this and my family has heard this, and I have to thank my family for supporting me because, work has always been a priority in my family, which is nice. Look, and he just wants some cupcakes. He doesn't care about anybody here. But when I first came out here from Wisconsin, I lived in a tent at the Cascade Locks, and I saw you had a position open for volleyball. And I applied for it and came out, and they hired me. As dirty as I was from a tent, no shower, anything, they'd be like, shh, we'll take her. And it was just lovely. So to start my career at Park Rose, to come back and end my career at Park Rose is absolutely phenomenal. So I couldn't ask for anything better. And the career choices I've had, from pumping gas here in Portland to laying bricks at Nordstrom. So every time you drive Broadway and see the Nordstrom building that arches down on Broadway, these hands laid those bricks up. So when we drive by, I go, oh, Revicious did that. Yes, I did. Just a little piece of everything around. So it's nice to have done something here with my career. It's nice to end something here with my career and to go start something else in Costa Rica. But I'm saying the house that we have and the place that we're going to and the air that we're going to create makes you go, it's worth all that hard work to be able to go and have that for a bit of life. I'm ready for it. So thanks. But thank you for everything. Thank you all for everything that you've done for our district. It is, I tell people, it's like being on a farm, sitting back, watching chickens for drinking ice cream. That's what Park Rose is. Of all the schools I've been in. So thank you very much for everything. I can't believe I'm leaving. I can't believe you're leaving.
I can't believe I'm graduating.
Oh, so
It's still a.
It's the first that I'm seeing. It's not the only one.
Any more comments? Any more comments? Yeah.
I appreciate every time that we have the retirement ceremony, because it just reinforces why I wanted to be on the board to begin with. And it's because the foundation that we have here is made up of such wonderful people that are here to help my kids in their educational journey. So thank you all.
I also want to say thank you and I know that the kids will miss you, everyone will miss you, and I really appreciate everything that you do. I know I always say Park Rose is small, but we're mighty and we make a big impact, and just know that been at basketball games with you and then all my kids went to Russell, Russell Rockets. And just, you know, just I know that it's a great beginning, a great ending, but I'm glad that you also ended here at Park Rose and that you know, just continuing to begin back and enjoy your retirement because I'm ready to retire. I'm not there yet. In Costa Rica too. Love it. So, but thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
You know, just echoing the sentiment, you know, I think it's always important to recognize trailblazers. You know, I like to think you know, this work is somewhat easy because of people who, you know, planted trees so we can live in the shade. You know, Miss Grant, I can remember times when I was at the high school and students were getting on my nerves. I would come to your office and hide and vent about kids, but you know, you had like this wisdom and this calmness about you dealing with kids. Like, you know, some of those boys, I'm like, man, when they turn 18, we going outside. And you're like, yeah, you know, let's just help them. So yeah, appreciate that wisdom. And then yeah, Sam, you know, when I became the program director at Elevate, same thing, but it was on the employee end. I'm just like, man, I don't know. And you know, like we just sat down and took the time to get to know each other. You know, I learned that you were a Packers fan. And I just really love how, you know, you just built that authentic relationship just as a person. It had nothing to do with credentials or titles. We just chopped it up and just reversed as people. And I just always appreciate, you know, just the energy that you bring. But, you know, to all of the educators, like Director Reeves said, please enjoy retirement. Do not worry about these kids. These are other people's kids. You did your time. Don't come back. No, I'm totally kidding. You can go back to visit. You're more than welcome. But just definitely love and appreciate just all the service in Park Rose. And like I said, you know, hopefully we can do our due diligence to pay it forward and continue to build the legacies that you all have built here in the district. So we love and appreciate y'all. And yes, please enjoy retirement. And I'll be rooting for the Packers in your honor this year if my team is bad this year. So.
I just want to thank everyone who's retiring. I've had experience almost everyone who's retiring at this point, and I can say, even if I've not come across your path, that each and every one of you has had a very meaningful impact to this district. And after serving many years in this crazy district, I just want to say thank you.
I'll say. Okay, so we break and have some cupcakes. Is that all right? Great. Have some cupcakes.
Next, we will have a presentation by the AI Action Research Team.
Right, that is you, yeah. That on up, yay. Would you mind pulling up my, oh, do you want us to go up, did you say?
Either.
Oh, yeah. We just can't hold him into your list.
You want the slideshow first?
We're prepared. Yeah, that'd be great, yeah. Thank you. And then while I do intro, do you wanna pass these out to those? Thank you. Okay, so Lori, we've spoken to you many times. We are both on the AI Action Research team that Michael has been running for the last 2 years. And we're also the high school AI guidance team leaders. And we also run the academic integrity team.
and the acronym for which is the AI team. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later. So we're gonna give the recommendations based on the work we've done with Michael, the work we've done at the high school. I have some handouts here, but we're really hoping that this it doesn't have to be like presentation, you wait for the whole thing and then you ask for questions. We're really looking for more dialogue. So anytime you have a question, because it's like a lot of content. So anytime you have a question, please just stop us. We're gonna stop after every little slide to just solicit feedback, just so it can flow better. Okay, so we really felt like after everything we've looked at and all the tools that we've investigated and the studies we've read, any policy that looks at saying yes or no to specific tools is, by the time it's written, going to be obsolete. So that's not the direction we think we should go in. We believe that the most enduring lessons that our school can and should teach are about the critical consumption of media, including critical consumption of AI. So again, we're looking to teach about media literacy, about AI, but not with AI. And we really believe in the portrait of a graduate that you all are putting together and the district vision and mission. And we think that those goals will support our students regardless of what passing that technologies come their way. So with that, our first recommendation is that the district begin a media literacy and tech team. This team should create a scope and sequence for media literacy K-12 and a multi-year plan for rolling that out. It should guide the process of that rollout. It should have PD that supports teachers understanding that rollout and do the support and alignment work of like a multi-stage media literacy education plan. We are looking, so ideally that would have at least 5 teachers on the team from every level and every department, including especially a SPED and an ELT person, and be chaired by the media literacy specialist. We're looking into a grant to support this work. It's called the District Fellowship Program. It's through the News Literacy Project, and it's a $30,000 grant over 3 years that really looks to support districts who are trying to develop this kind of scope and sequence, but have very little other infrastructure to support that. Are there any questions about that part? Yes.
Just wanted to get clarification on the acronyms.
Yes.
Which ones?
Which ones?
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
SPED and the ELD.
Oh, yes, special education and English language development.
Thank you.
The media literacy, will that include information about like aggregators and algorithms?
Yeah, so media literacy is like the large umbrella, and underneath it is information literacy, which has to do with reading charts and graphs. News literacy, which has to do with, like what is true in the media. AI literacy, about how algorithms work and how large language models work. And digital literacy around more kind of tech literacy stuff.
Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is our vetting process. Any proposed student-facing AI usage must be vetted through a process that ensures it has a legitimate educational value and protects student data and privacy to the highest degree possible. In our high school AI guidance team led by Em, we've created AI use criteria. You have a document, I think it's on your second or third page, that teachers kind of can fill out, and they use that to determine whether a criteria, whether anything, whether it's AI or any other like tech-based ed tech thing, is educationally valid. If that's the best tool for the job, we want to have a process that teachers have access to. We've talked with the principal at the high school, and she's agreed that we should attach this to unit plans when we do our planning it should be just like curriculum adoption of any other form or like textbook adoption. We would use a process to determine that. There's currently no consensus of scholarly research thus far supporting AI adoption in schools. In fact, new research suggests that using AI has long-term harms rather than gains. And for this reason, we believe, like I think I mentioned in the introduction, that the best way to prepare our students for the future is to teach the enduring and essential skills of critical thinking, self-advocacy, and literacy. Make sure they're actually prepared for any job they have when they leave us. Yeah. Any questions about that section?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the vetting gets done by this tech team?
It actually gets done by each teacher. So if you're a teacher and you're interested in using a student-facing AI for any activity, you use this and you can go through, it's kind of fun to go through and think about. On the back, there are examples of different usages. And then you ask yourself these questions, and it's like a book adoption would be, where you talk about like, what are the potential harms? What are the potential benefits? How did I weigh those? And then you attach it to the unit plan that we already have to create as teachers and submit to the to our principal.
So it's like a justification that covers the teacher if a parent complains or if a student doesn't want to, if somebody wants to opt out or something happens, it's like, well, we've gone through this vetting process, here's why we think it's educationally valid. Or here's why it wasn't and why we didn't use it.
Yeah, and currently we don't have access to generative AI for students, and that will continue. There is one.
There's only an
usage, yeah.
exception at the high school. There's a teacher who's using a notebook notebook LM, which is in the Google suite now, right? That's where the teacher can put in all the documents that they want, and then it creates kind of a contained AI where students can access it and they can ask it things. It's still a generative, it's a large language model, it's doing predictions, it's making a podcast, it's formatting things for them. And so it is using data that it has been trained on. So it is an LLM, but students have limited access. And so that would be a case where the teacher could go through the criteria and say, like, here are the educational benefits,
Yeah.
here are the risks, here's what I want them to do with it specifically, and so this is what we're doing.
So it's like the teacher does it, like does a self-assessment, and then the principal, like sign off on it today, or is it just like?
They'll talk about it in their meeting and just ask questions and make sure that everything is on the up and up. Trust the teacher to move forward.
Right, it's kind of like twice a year, we meet with our administrator and we go over like lesson plans and views and things like that, and so that would be one of the things to come up in that discussion.
And in general, like just technical access for new things, like whether it's software or an online piece, that has to be approved also through the tech department, as they'll
Right, and
reach out
figure
and
out
say,
how to do it.
hey, is this an okay thing to put? And so the nice thing is that this would be the very first thing we'd ask teachers to do, so then we have a little bit more background in terms of whether or not something that, because unfortunately you can't just release it to one machine or a group of machines. It has to be to like the limits for us are a school. You can limit by school, but that's the smallest we can go.
Oh, it's me too. Okay, community engagement. So our goal is to create a community engagement plan to partner with parents and families to support our goals. We want to ensure parents understand the tech usage, including AI usage, in classrooms, and then give families options regarding whether they want their children to participate in the use of AI. Under COPPA, COPPA, it's the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act of 1988. The students under 13 are actually required to have parental consent in order to use AI. And many tech companies themselves require parental consent for 18 and under. We have to make sure parents are actually like aware and able to give full consent. So that's kind of on us to do. Because of the difficulties in reaching every parent, making sure they understand what tech usage entails, the only policy that seems to make sense is to have parents opt in if they approve the use. If we rely on that passive consent or the opting out, we're not really in compliance with that law because they're not giving informed consent. PPS conducted a survey about AI. Obvious, you have.
I
Well,
found
there's
it.
only one because it's many slides, but it will pass it around afterwards. It obviously used AI to create the presentation of the results, and it's kind of hilariously insightful. The AI puts a positive spin on everything. So for example, when 76% of students say that AI is harmful to their academic learning when teachers assign it, the results say that it is 24% helpful.
We did really want to share this with you though, because they have so much more, like they have
It's
a
a
much
lot of
larger
data.
community,
Yeah.
but also they have more ability to do large scale projects like this. And it's just full of so much incredible student, staff and parent voice. And we really wanted to share it with you. I can give you a link, also, so you can access it. But I just wanted to print out a paper copy because I'm analog. Yeah. Okay,
Next.
okay, so, we created, a couple of things for the high school that we're hoping we can share with the rest of the district. Instead of an acceptable use policy, we called it the desired digital behaviors policy, guidance, and we just like the verbiage of that better. That is also in the packet that we gave to you. And it goes through kind of the ways that we expect students and staff to engage with technology, including generative AI, but really all technology. And we're gonna add this to the student handbook for the high school, and we're hoping that other schools will take a look and make it, more student facing for younger students and adopt this as well. Along with that, we created a menu of support for when people go against these desired digital behaviors, and we really don't want it to be disciplinary, and we don't want it to feel like anybody's in trouble. We want to team with kids and with families to address the issues that happen and create these issues. And
There's many reasons for kids to use AI on an assignment, and so we want to address the individual reasons on an individual way.
Yeah, and so it's very based in restorative justice practices. We have a menu that is based on like what the kid, like how the incident happened should match like how we address it. And finally, we also made the academic integrity team, because we know that AI-based AI checkers are racist, biased, and unfairly flag people whose primary language is not English. We felt that it was important to create a person-based team because we're getting a lot of AI submissions in the high school. So we trained a group of 10 teachers. We read probably 5 to 15 papers written by AI, 5 to 15 papers written by our real students. And we really dug in and figured out like what makes each of these writing structures. And from there, we developed an expertise. And anytime somebody thinks that something is AI text, they send it to us along with a student work sample that we know to be written by the student. And we pull in at least 4 people to check the work and then give a verdict that teacher can then have a discussion with the student about. Okay.
Ideally, they would have already discussed with the student and informed the parent that that was happening, is what a
Yes.
principal said to do.
There's
like
a
a
whole
whole
process. We can talk about it more. I just wanted to give the broad strokes. Any questions about that?
Guys, have you had a question? Also, what happens and how do they know? What are they
Yeah,
doing
okay,
now
so
to
let's say
know
like
something's
you use,
submitted?
I suspect you used AI to write a paper. Then first step would be, I would compare it to your writing sample. And if I have reason to believe that one is AI and it's not your work, then I would have a conversation with you in class. If you're like, no, it's mine. Then I would pull in your parent and say, I'm concerned about Brenda's writing. I think that I'm gonna move this to the AI team. I just want to keep you in the loop. This is what's going on. We're gonna go ahead and maybe explain the process to them, just so that everybody's on the same page. Then we go through and we have a whole system of like kind of red flags and green flags, things to look for. Everybody that sees the papers gives their assessment, and then once we have that report, we go back to the family and the student and say like, hey, like here's our. And then that's when the menu of support would come in.
And we're happy to share any documentation. We just thought it was like a little in the weeds to explain like
Yeah.
this little system that we made.
Okay, that's it. So learning to use a specific AI platform is not gonna help our students in the long run, but media literacy certainly will. Media literacy skills are enduring, they're transferable, they'll help in any industry and any job you get. Technologies are gonna change and evolve, but media literacy education will allow our students to be critical thinkers who are able to meaningfully engage with and critique any emerging tech as it comes up. Our media literacy experts were among the hardest hit by the recent rifts. Specifically, our librarian, who's the district's only media literacy specialist, has been cut to 0.5 FTE. That's the woman sitting next to me, if they're not aware. The media literacy elective that was proposed for next year by the high school, it's going to be taught by Em and Rachel, has been cut. I was on the cuts list. If we want our students to be ready to meet the challenges of the world, our focus really needs to be on retaining quality educators. And specifically for this, this is a really big task, right? The media literacy, the goal of our, like 3 years from now, we have a whole system in place. That's a really big job. One person can't do it if they're only working half-time. And as of right now, Em is our most qualified media literacy specialist. She's the district media literacy specialist. So I think Zach will talk to you more a little later. But I even wanted to throw that out there. If you have any questions, she'll be too embarrassed to answer, but I'm happy to.
Any questions?
No, there's no question or comments or. Yeah.
I guess I have a question. When the media literacy elective, is there a number of like how many students are can take that elective?
So it was a new proposal as kind of a way to kickstart some of the things that we want to roll out with all students. It was a class that was going to be optional that kids could take at the high school, and then we'd be able to roll out some of the strategies.
Yes, and also the media literacy elective that was at the middle school is also cut. Well, thank you. I know we went over our time, but
Thank
we
you very
brought a
much.
lot of stuff. We're
Yeah.
happy to answer questions if you want to email us, and please look over all the stuff we do.
The big packet?
Yes.
So this is a big.
Yes, yes, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right, next, we want to have a PFA.
How's it going, everybody?
So,
Not too much to cover, except for one, huge thank you to the district for us reaching an agreement on negotiating. It is always a process, and we really appreciate the district's commitment to making that process a cooperative one. Also appreciate the district's recognition of Jennifer Hunsicker. This was her last bargaining session after a long storied career of bargaining, and again, just wanted to give a shout out to her for all of her amazing work, and a shout out to all the union members who are stepping up and hopefully filling the shoes so that Jennifer can finally get some rest. And honestly, that's just about it. But since I'm up here, I do want to give a shout out for anyone who's unaware of the absolutely amazing achievement of the Park Grove Middle School track and field team. They just had district competition this last Thursday at Sam Barlow High School. The 8th grade boys and 7th grade boys took first place overall. Yes, I got to, despite the fact being under the weather, I'm glad that I didn't miss it because I got to film the whole thing and was absolutely amazing to watch. And also the girls 8th grade took 2nd place overall, and girls 7th grade took 4th place overall. So the fact that I did their highest achievement in that area, and particular shout out to Scott Ballou and Nick Hobbs. The amount of work that they put into putting that team together is nothing short of godlike. And so it was nice to see it come out. So
What about Masons?
anything you guys got for me?
Mason.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yes, and I totally forgot that. And as if we were not winning enough awards, the middle school Mesa team led by Amy Lay, who has put in more hours than I think she could possibly count, was able to take our Parkrose Mesa team to its second statewide victory, and they will be headed to, I'm going to be helping put together the video to head to nationals. Back to back wins they did last year, and also I think it was it was one of the lower grade teams. It was the 6th grade or something team. They took home second place. So yeah, statewide. Yeah, just breaking in the merchandise. Is there anything else we won that I forgot about? Yeah. Anything else you guys have for me?
Thank you for the great.
Yeah.
Right, is Gary with us?
No, Gary?
So next we will move to in-person public comments. I'm gonna go ahead and read the script. So really quick. So a person speaking during the oral public comment portion of the meeting may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs. The board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. Comments or complaints regarding staff must be directed to the superintendent to ensure any association contract governing the employee's rights will be followed. As a reminder to our board members, inquiries or comments from the public will not generally be responded to immediately by the board or board chair and may be referred to the superintendent for a response at a later date. If comments are made about an existing agenda item, the board will save their remarks until that portion of the agenda. So with that being said, first, Zachary Melzer, welcome. You will be allowed 3 minutes for your comments. Please begin by stating your name, whether you are a resident of the district and speaking on behalf of an organization and the name of the organization. And your social security custodian.
Hi, everybody. My name is Zachary Melzer. Not here in my capacity as a human person or a teacher person, but as one of these people. And I do live in the district, yes. I have a daughter in the district. Be there for 11 years after preschool this year. All right, good to go.
I'll restart.
All right.
Ready.
To make this clear, this is about the position of librarian, not the specific person holding that position. So this is talking about the program itself, but in district. Dear Parkrose School Board and Superintendent Michael Lowe-Surratt. As parents and students in the Parkrose School District, it has come to our attention that as part of the budget cuts the 2026-2027 school year, the district has chosen to cut only certified librarian, the whole district, the half-time position. In a time when supporting our children's ability to not just learn to read, but curating books that foster their love of reading and crafting literacy curriculum to be used in classrooms when media literacy is its highest need in the face of social media and misinformation. This district cuts in half the sole position doing that work. This is unacceptable. Research about the importance of libraries and librarian work is clear. Better outcomes for students, improved reading outcomes, and access to research and digital literacy skills and curriculum crafted and curated by licensed librarians. The Oregon Parent Teacher Association School Library Resolution lays out the importance of properly staffed and supported school libraries. When the listed realities of our state, Oregon ranks near the bottom nationally in licensed librarians in schools. 1 out of 3,700 versus the national average of 1 out of 1,300. In light of that, even state statutes like ORS 329.0954AJ say that school library programs need to be supervised by appropriate certified personnel. And the Oregon PTA recommends that districts should be staffed to support 500 students with 1 full-time licensed librarian. We have never in the last few decades had more than 1 full-time librarian supporting the whole district. For the 2004-2005 school year, our 1 librarian served 2,711 students, according to the ODE report card numbers. This decision not only guts our existing capacity, but we lose our marginally better ratio we have now and fall well below the already abysmal Oregon average. To add insult to injury, the district is deciding to continue funding another year of the Portland State University Senior Inquiry course. This means that $60,000 payment for Portland State for only 60 participating high school students who have the potential to earn PSU college credit in high school for passing the course. There is no guarantee that these students will even attend PSU, though the program is a great promoting tool for PSU, but the program itself is on shaky grounds. The university is talking about revamping the program to look more like Mountain Community College's dual credit program. Jefferson and McDaniel High School have already dropped the program. The district is choosing to neglect the critical need to provide important library services to all students in every school building over a select few students in a program on the rocks. Even if the program is guaranteed to keep going into the future, during a revenue crisis, how can the district reduce already lacking services to our students at every development level, for 2% of our students who already have access to other options for college credit through AP courses and the aforementioned Mountain Community College dual credit program? How is that a responsible use of our school funds? We want the district to make a better choice and reinstate the only librarian position we have to that of full-time employment. Let this year's seniors in the PSU course finish their year and choose not to renew the course for next year. Use that saved money to help keep a full-time librarian to serve all the students. And I have the signature place. Okay.
Questions?
Just, I appreciate you coming to advocate and educate on behalf of the library and media literacy program.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Zach. This is connection. We appreciate it.
Just saying thank you. Thank you for coming and advocating, and it's important that we hear community's voices well, so thank you.
Yeah, first, just really appreciate the information and the insight, just the knowledge that goes along with it. Just appreciate the objective approach and just the courageousness to put this together. And also want to say publicly to the community members who also are advocating as well. Thank you all. Yeah, really appreciate this.
Yeah, can I share some comments? I mean, first and foremost, we sat here last year, and addressed comments about obvious cuts that we didn't want to see happen. And I think the most difficult thing about spending reductions is having to look at things where you're comparing. And that's really tough to do because obviously the hardest thing is there are people that, and not only programs, but people that I individually care about, but I know our district collective cares about. I'm committed to finding a way. We cut choir last year and I found a way, much to Sharice's chagrin. She's probably online, signed right now. We originally presented a budget that had 26 FTE cuts between certified and classified. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, we're down to 19.5 positions. And that's simply because of all the people who do the work here have taken furlough days to save those positions. And that includes the certified staff. And unfortunately, that hasn't resolved the library position. But I am committed to trying to find a way. I am. And I really hate the position. And I also know that we had to make some really hard choices, which often has to do with people and positions. A little bit of why behind PSU inquiry, because this is definitely something that we looked at and considered. We currently have 56 students that are in the program. This is a partnership with PSU. It's a year-long bridge experience where students who complete the course get 15 credits of not only PSU credit, but it's transferable credit. It's not just a commitment. Ideally, PSU is doing it to keep kids at PSU. They build relationships with a professor as well as one of our staff members who helps facilitate the course. But it pays for 50% of the freshman year of a student. That's at PSU. Granted, you go to OSU, those credits transfer. But for those of you who have kids at OSU, know that OSU is a little more expensive than PSU is. It provides 4 credits of writing 121, 4 credits of social science, 4 credits of arts, humanities, and 3 credits of science general elective. Those 56 kids, if they all complete the course this year, that's $280,000 worth of tuition that's paid for, that the kids don't have to pay for. So that's really the primary reason that we focus on the inquiry course, because yes, we do. It is like Zach is correct. We do have other opportunities for dual credit, but not in the same money saving factors that this provides. So that's a key piece. But also keep in mind we eliminated construction college this year. So previous years we had 40 plus kids in that program. This past year that was cut in half because of funding, and that program is completely eliminated. And that opportunity is eliminated for kids, as is the media literacy elective course, as well as the elective available at the middle school. So it's all super devastating, right? It's awful, and I don't want to make excuses, but I also want to say like we are really trying to be thoughtful about things that we invest in, because a lot of them have dropped off over the years. Obviously, many of you know that through our budget circumstances over the last 5 years, because every year there's been a little bit that has been shaved off, and unfortunately, Park Rose High School in particular took pretty massive hits. Some of that has to do with they do receive some additional revenue, and that additional revenue is almost $1 million. So the other schools don't receive, but keep in mind we cut 3 elementary teaching positions as this round of cuts went through. 3 teachers at Park Rose Middle School, and 3 teachers at Park Rose High School, with some of those coming in halves, because there were some halves, and I have a report in more detail that isn't it. So my goal is to find a way. I will tell him tonight, and I told him the other day that it's a high priority to put it back. I know that once it goes away, it's hard to put it back. And there were plenty of fights about, like, do we take half? Do we do this? Some of the worst, most awful decisions I've had to make in my career, no doubt. So I hope I can stand before you in August and, share some good news. But I do think this narrative is really important to share with. I don't disagree with what Mr. Melzer wrote in his letter. It is abysmal. It is. I feel a little ashamed, right, that we aren't able to hold on to programs that are essential. And we know that as we continue to see less revenue, there are districts around us who cut music teachers this year. There are districts around us who cut PE teachers. We're making teachers travel from school to school. And I think that that's just as wrong as having a 0.5 media specialist and taking elective away at our middle school, because those are opportunities. Yes, you could say, we were just here with Robert celebrating track. Yeah, we consider taking middle school sports away. We just reinvested in that endeavor. And so they're just really tough choices. So thank you for the letter. And I hope you know that I'm gonna put an effort forth and do my best.
Thank you. All right, so we have another in-person public comment. So Lori Amelia, welcome. You will be allowed 3 minutes for your comments. Please begin by stating your name. Whether you are resident of the district and speaking on behalf of the organization.
I am a high school teacher, a PFA member, but I'm here mostly in this capacity right now as a Park Rose community member and as a parent of kids in the district. I have a letter that echoes a lot of what Zach just said, so I won't read the whole thing. I'll maybe just pass those down. And then what I want to highlight, what Zach didn't mention, is of the 56 students who are taking the PSU inquiry course, most of them qualify for the Oregon Promise, which guarantees free admission to any of Oregon's community colleges for 2 whole years. Those credits also transfer. To qualify for the Oregon Promise, students need a 2.0 GPA, a C average, and their SAI score to not exceed 18,000. That's when you look at the FAFSA, we fill out for financial aid. It gives you a student something index, I forget what SAI is, but it determines how much aid you qualify for. 18,000 is high. Most of our students have a score below that. Most have above a 2.0 also. The number of students for whom PSU inquiry is a boost they would not otherwise get is actually far lower than the 56. I want to propose another option. I, as a parent, absolutely hate iReady. iReady is an expensive program. About 1,700 students use iReady in our district. My estimate, just looking online, Googling it, it says about $30 to $35 per student. That would be $51,000 in the low end. That also could save a half a position easily. If I had my way, I would get rid of both of these things and bring back more staff. I think that's all. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you for being here and also same thing, advocating and I'm trying to not to get emotional. It's I think this is the it's the toughest year that I'm really as well. And of course I don't want to see any steps up. So, but I appreciate you coming and advocating because even like last year, like you still said, you know, we had to make cuts, and so one thing I do know that if he tells you he's gonna find a way and try to figure out, he means it, you know, and you know, we didn't want to see any cuts, and one of the main reasons why we really wanted this levy to pass, so we wouldn't be here in these situations, but you know, I know that it's across all districts, but I know that it's hard, it's home. I live here and my kids live in Park Rose and I still have family in Park Rose, so.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to make this to have a library.
Yeah,
And
understood and just want to say thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Okay.
iReady, we paid 23,000 a year for iReady. You know that Senate Bill 141, the new accountability bill, does require districts to have an interim assessment. So we have iReady, what's another test called MAPS, which is owned by Pearson. And then Smarter Balanced, which is the statewide assessment that we currently do. Unfortunately, this is a great example of unfunded mandate.
I was gonna say, is it an unfunded bill?
So honestly, it would be something that we would consider if we had a way to meet the accountability requirements. Because we are not receiving $23,000 from the state of Oregon to pay for the interface, which is the diagnostic test that elementary and middle school kids use for reading and math.
Yeah, no, just again, thank you, just having the courage. I think I speak for all of us. Really just appreciate you all helping equip us with just more knowledge and information, you know. Was thinking about, you know, when we do have opportunities to interface with the legislators. But I think a lot of times, there's just more overarching things, right? Oh, we need money, but you know, to really kind of like get in the weeds, I think helps us, you know, hold them accountable as relates to, you know, meeting the need and what we actually need to help better perform it. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, always welcome. You know, more information. Definitely appreciate it. Because yeah, those funded mandates, I'll leave that there. I'll leave it here. Thank you.
We have a sped cap later.
You know,
Yeah.
so, thank you. So yeah, with that being said, we'll go ahead and take a break into a recess into our executive session at 7:22 p.m. We will now reconvene, the Park Road May 26th, 2026 business meeting at 8:04 p.m.
Not that long.
So, next we will go to the consent agenda. So with that being said, Waylon, since you are only student representatives, do you have any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda?
No, sir.
So thank you. But with that being said, do I hear a motion to approve or amend tonight's consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. So next we will have department reports. Starting with our CFO, Cherie Lewis. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oops. Sorry.
All right, we'll go with the board financials first. This is actually through April. And as you'll see from the financial statements, we're projected to be over budget right now at $4,463. We still have some outstanding encumbrances that still haven't come through. So, and we still have a month or so of student payroll. So there, we will be higher than this. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's just how it is. I don't think we have any other big expenses projected, Andrea, that I'm aware of, other than what we have encumbered. Is that
Right.
correct?
Agreed.
Anybody have any questions?
Did we already pay our, like?
Coffee stuff? Yep. The
Yeah.
credit, the $1,000 from Pacific Northwest Credit Union hasn't showed up yet, so that'll make it reduce that. I don't think the roses are on here yet. You guys paid for roses.
They're not. But that's okay. I mean, it's better than what I thought, but it's not where I would like it to be. That's the best way to say it. It is what it is. Then the other financial statements for the general fund, they're a little bit better than they were last month because there's only one reason. We've been waiting for a settlement from the airports, from Horizon, all the airlines. They had a settlement that just went through in April. It brought to us roughly $200 and some odd thousand in additional property taxes that Iowa had not been planning for. So I, have to report the additional taxes to the state, which I know at this point I'll get nothing back. They'll take it. But for this financial statement right now, we're actually in a better place than we were the month before. We're about 182,000, with the majority of that gain having to be from the property taxes that we brought in. And it's all sitting in the prior year taxes because this settlement is 6 to 7 years old. So we've been waiting quite a while for this settlement to come through. And I just didn't have any hope it would ever get settled. So, and we still have basically the rest of the payroll May and June to go. We project probably at least another $1 million in payroll prior to the end of the year. We still, in May 15th, this is an April statement. And May 15th, we did really well on our May 15th state school fund statement. We had a prior year adjustment statement, over 200,000. I was projecting it to be 30,000. We got over 200,000. And our high cost disability statement, we got another 200 and some prior year settlement. So between the two, the prior year settlement and the state school fund settlement for prior years, it was over $500,000, which was thankfully good for us. I was planning and projecting the high cost. I was hoping it would be a little bit more, but I'm good with where we settled with the state. And we lost about $660,000 to $70,000 on the high cost disability. Based on how the allocation went, we were supposed to get over 900,000. We got 800 and some odd $1,000. So we didn't get what I projected we were going to get, but it was better than what I thought. So with that said, that made our end of state school fund number about a $1.1 million prior year adjustments in high cost disability adjustments. So that's really good for the district. It doesn't help us a lot with the ending fund balance because I was already planning for a lot of that number. So the only thing that's helping us right now is the settlement that came from the airport. And we're looking right now about $2.8 to $3.1 million more in professional services expenses than what I actually had in the budget. And with the majority of that, about 2.4 million of that coming directly from special education, additional costs for more students than what we had originally projected. So the reason why we are where we are right now is mostly because of where we are with professional services, and it's out of control because of the additional kids that we have. There's nothing you can do about that, but there wasn't enough in the budget to plan for that. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Go ahead.
I have one tree. My question is in regards to the, I guess, these special student increase. Is that something that, I guess I just want to know, like, how did that, is that due to like students transferring in, for that, or how did that rise so suddenly?
We went from 43 students last year. When we started to build budgets, we are ending up with 68 kids. And we had a lot of kids transfer in. We had multiple 6 to 8 kids that are in group homes that we were not planning for. So, and we're looking to have an increase into next year. So this is not slowing down. And like I said during the budget presentation, in a 3-year process, we're like a 50-some% increase in special education, which is I've never seen in my 24 years. But we are similar to what other districts are happening. They may not be showing it the way I'm showing it because I'm showing it the way it's technically supposed to be. Somebody in one of my other districts, they're just not showing it all in special ed. My numbers are all in special ed because I need to show what the full impact is. We've got a lot of new kids in kindergarten and that are coming through. We've had to add new a teacher, or not a teacher, an EA at a school because we had so much of that. I know at MESD, my MESD costs alone are a little over $1 million just in contract cost. So, and then we have additional costs at Serendipity and some of the other places. So I could get down into the weeds, but it's just solely on the increase of the number of students. That's all it is. Michael, you have any comments?
No, I think one thing that is funky about the state school fund and how we receive revenue is that the number that Sheree is speaking to, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheree, but this number of reimbursement that we just received is for 24-25, correct?
The prior year adjustment of, yes, is for 24-25. Yes.
So this big cost this year of the 68 kids that she's speaking of, like we've spent all those dollars. We actually won't get reimbursed at that, 30 cents on the dollar, or next year 20 cents on the dollar until next May. Which is another challenge with, like, as Sheree has talked about with cash flow. Because we don't get that reimbursement immediately, and that's we're probably 2.5 million over budget for special education for contracted services.
Yes. We're about 2.5 to 2.7 million right now.
Hence our $3.3 million shortfall, right? Yeah. No, you got it.
I'm sorry for the bad news, but, and as we go into next year, my projections for special ed are just as high as they are this year, if not higher, because we already know that we are bringing in more kids that are high needs, which is one of the reasons we're having to add a communications classroom and trying to offset the projected $1 million expense that we would incur by trying to do the service in-house, where it would hopefully projecting to cost us around $500,000. So we're looking to trying to save $500,000 in cost if we can. If any of those kids escalate to the point that they are not able to be in a communication classroom, we would have to outplace them. And each one of those placements are well at $150,000 to $200,000 a piece.
Thanks, Sheree. Corey, did you have a question? I think Corey has a question, Sheree. Is that okay?
It's just a knowledge question. I don't know what MESD stands for.
Multnomah
Education Service District.
That's the regional.
They are the entity. There's 7 of them in the state, and they're responsible to provide ancillary services to education service districts, or to districts that don't have the services like special education, or let's say those intricate services like nursing or everything. That's their responsibility. There's 7 to 9 in the state, and in part of the state school fund is 4.5% of the state school fund go to education service districts, and a portion of our money goes to them, and we call it resolution in our budgets. And those resolution funds are used to buy technology services, because we don't house our main technology department. That is done through the education service districts and Northwest Regional. And then we buy special education services and nursing. So those resolution dollars help us buy those things. And the education service districts are allowed to keep basically 10% of what the state gave them of our money as their operating cost, and that 90% is what we get to use to buy those services.
Okay, so it's an outsourcing funding kind of tool.
Yes,
Okay.
it is money that is ours. It's a pass-through. The money from the state school fund is basically 95.5% comes to the state school, to the districts, and 4.5 go to the ESDs.
Okay.
And the ESDs then allocate those funds to the residential districts within the educational district's boundaries, right? And then I get the option to spend 90% of that money that is ours based on ADM to buy services. And what we in the district buy is basically IT technology platforms, right? We buy special education services and nursing. Those are the things we buy with our resolution dollars.
Thank you much. I apologize for slowing it down. I just want to understand.
State school fund is complicated, believe me. It's not easy to understand.
Thank you, Sheree.
I will tell you that the bond sold on the 30th, The bond did very well on the market. We went down in par by 0.25, saved us some money. So what we're saving money on interest in the par. We went down to 0.25. The actual proceeds will come into the district on the 4th of June. 3,625,000 and some odd pennies. So we will use those funds and they will be brought into the 201 fund, which is the tax increment financing, not tax anticipation note fund, which is Fund 201. And if we need money to do what we need to do at the end of the year, we transfer it out of that LGIP fund, which is local government investment pool, and we can move it from our main into our main checking where we need it. And then at the end of the time, when I get the cash in December and November, December, I put it back into the LGIP money that is for the TAN, and then we pay off the debt.
Thanks, Shereen.
Right, so next, student rep monthly ASB report. Anything to report, Waylon? Oh, problem.
Trauma's amazing.
Got some pictures.
Yeah.
And props to Waylon, today was senior skip day, and he's.
Oh.
Probably did.
Really good.
Was that Eco Trace?
Yeah.
Was it the one in Northwest?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're on like 9th and Irving.
Okay.
That's nice setup.
What did they have? Here you go.
Yeah, it was out. Where the Patagonia used to be.
Slide to the left.
That's Oh, that's cool.
I got that. Everybody looks so good.
Yeah, prom was good. Good time overall. May is flown by. It's already coming to an end. Finals will be the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, I think. And seniors last week will be next week, so I'm very excited for that. Tomorrow is like decision day, like where we put out the boards, like what are you gonna do next year? I mean, that's really it. You see who won student council positions. Yeah, that's really it.
I'll be having a meeting with the new representatives in the next week or so. And yeah, decision day starts at noon, but you said the meeting starts
They're
at
like a
11:30.
senior meeting in the theater at 11:30. It goes till noon, and then noon. There's like a pizza party and like move the boards in the library.
The ones that are going on the yard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, see that.
Yeah. Two people.
Alright,
Thanks.
Yep.
Board, do we have anything important in the meeting?
I did have, and I wasn't sure, for those, do I need to do, cause. If I have the LPC online at OSBA, am I supposed to do like a report out and send it to you?
It's up to you.
For the meeting, okay. I did have a OSBA meeting and a LPC meeting and last week, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, very different week. Blur. And a lot of the focus with the LPC was preparing for the long session. They did give some ideas. I like the ideas that some of the board members are doing, or LPC members are doing as well, is already going in front of like their legislators, having conversations already. So one thing that we were all tasked with was, if you haven't met with one of them, to make sure you do, and introduce myself and start this conversation. So I wanted to see if I could set up some time with you to, you know, like, what are the things that we wanna focus on for next year, or, you know, besides, because they did ask me, one of the questions, we broke out into sessions, little group sessions, and then one of the questions was like, what do our students need, right? And I looked at it from a perspective of dollars, because and others looked at it from perspective of body people in the schools. But for me, I was like, well, in order for us to get to that, we need the funding to be able to get to that. So yes, I do believe like our students need more people in the schools to support them and all that, but I'm like, but we need also the funding to get there. So that was the angle that I took, you know, in looking at and revisiting, and stop having the same record playing over and over again about the funding, the sped, and how the calculation and all that, and you know, how we really need to make changes. So that was one of the things that they also had how to approach it. One of the things that they were saying was like, okay, but what does that look like if we revamp the whole thing? If we don't revamp the whole thing, you know, from, you know, what changes will we make, and you know, to what would make it better?
Yeah.
Or does it need a full-blown overhaul, but how long would that take, and and what that looks like? So at least conversation is happening about that.
Yeah.
But really, the biggest thing is, don't wait until the long session to start having those conversations that, you know, we should start having those now as a board, or myself, you know, going to other districts. So one of the things I did ask was, I feel like I need to be doing more when it comes down to LPC. So you know, I'm part of the whole region, so I just want to see, like, figure out what I can do. So I am going to meet with our future elected president to try to figure out like what plan I can do. But I also want to look at it from like, if I'm going to be in front of people, I want to speak about Park Rose.
Yeah.
So talked about that. There's other things that they're like, you know, of course, a long session brings a lot of different bills, and everybody goes into the bill that they want. So think keeping that in mind. And then how do we engage the community and educate the community for them also to be the voice? And then how do we start having those conversations now of like, what does it mean? You know, like for instance, like, you know, what does it mean for who is MESD, right? What does it mean like when we say that the funding is, you know, not great, the calculation, you know, what is all that? So that's one of the things that people are starting to have. A lot of them are the smaller districts, but I think that there's areas that we could tap into before the long session that we should be doing. And so I just figured maybe we can figure out what that looks like and just have a plan. And then if there's meetings that are happening, or town halls, like some people are going to the town halls, and then meeting their representatives. So I just feel like there's more that we can do. And I don't have to be the only one that does it, right? Like, you know, we can, if you're interested and being like, hey, I'm gonna go here, and if you're interested in coming with me, at least them knowing us. And I will forever always speak about Park Rose. So just trying to figure out what's the best approach.
Yeah, I'm making a note to before June is over, to have Lisa Merritt come back and chat with us. I do want to highlight some things that I think we can, as a collective, talk about when it comes to some of the reform oriented things that don't necessarily have to do with money. We'll have the money conversation. We can specifically say, here are some things within the state school fund we'd like to see temporarily fixed. And then here are some larger kind of more reformative things that we could do, which really has to do more with alignment at the state level with state goals. And I have some documents I'd love to share with you just about how confusing and incoherent the state schools have been, and then how all of these legislative efforts come in and make it even more complicated.
Yeah.
So just trying to, how do we distill that down to like, how, you know, how you flip it all the way upside down, but how you do that in 4 or 5 clear sentences.
And they're talking about adding more days to our school year, right? So it's
Right.
like, well, we need more money to be able to sustain that, right? So, you know, so always look at it from the lens of the student, right? But I'm like, here we are having conversations about our cuts today.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the funding and
spending
millions of dollars on services that we have to give our students, right? So that's the main thing, is like, what else can I be doing? And putting ourselves out there more and making sure, like, utilize that I'm in this role, so what's the next step versus me just going to conferences and going to the meetings monthly. Like, there's stuff that people are really doing out there that I'm like, we should be doing that.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thanks, Brenda.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I went to the Rotary dinner / auction. My husband, Sri, was there too. So we got to sit and chat, which was nice. Yeah, there was quite a few people there during this whole budget conversation. I'm like, we should have them to a fundraiser for us. Because they were very generous. And they ended up raising enough funds to like purchase this technology that can analyze DNA in just, I don't remember how long it was, like less than a day, which currently takes a year. So they'll be able to go through backlogs of, DNA and tests it much quicker. So anyways, so they were specifically raising money for that thing. And they did that with money to spare. So anyways, it's a great group of like community leaders, business folks, etc.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was fun to just see what was going on. Like, I think I've mentioned this before, but I did a youth exchange with this particular Rotary when I was in high school. I don't know if they do them anymore. And my dad was in Rotary, did exchange as a doctor, like way back in the 80s. And so like I love personal ties to Rotary. I think it's like a cool organization. I feel like we should leverage the relationship there.
Yeah.
That's for us.
Thank you for being there. Yeah, they've been a tremendous support to the district, and we'll be awarding multiple scholarships to seniors here at Senior Awards Night, which is really exciting.
Service above self.
That's right. That's right.
Appreciate it. All right, so next will be board self-evaluation result. Questions or comments?
And I forgot to attach it again.
No worries. Were there any questions or comments? No, we looked over it last time. It seemed pretty straightforward.
Yep. You guys seem aligned. Thumbs up, yeah.
Better be.
But throw a wrench next year.
Well.
I was showing a cute photo. No, can you see all that? Nice.
Thanks a lot for taking so many pictures.
Right, so next we'll hand it over to our superintendent.
So I have a very sweet note here from the Parkers Education Foundation. They are very excited to announce and share with the board that they've granted over $18,000 to Parkers teachers this school year. Their annual dinner auction was filled with community support. They raised $20,000 for the special appeal of Elite and Life Skills Community Fund. It's really exciting. It's the biggest special appeal we've had in many, many years. This fund will allow students more opportunities to practice social skills, navigate their neighborhood, and learn about themselves and others. Save the date of April 24th, 2027 for their 22nd fundraising event. They would love to see school members attend. So yeah, that was great. It was a wonderful evening, and so happy that they raised money for the life skills kids across the district, which is super exciting. So Em and Lori talked in a lot of details about kind of actually results of some of the work that we did this year. And my action research project was actually going out and talking to students about what they knew about AI. And I brought high school leadership students and middle school leadership students with me. I know that like many of our board members, including Waylon, took place in some of the interviews, and we went to all 4 elementaries. And what this document is just shares a summary of what the students really facilitated is we did some getting to know you questions. So we asked, like, what's your favorite thing about school? And then of course you can see like the general summary of what kids love. Really what we were trying to measure here is, one, I love putting high school kids and young students in the same room. That like is, I think, a really important experience for all age groups, to just see like who they're going to be not too far from here. And that's always really exciting to experience. And a lot of times for the students who haven't had a chance, the high school students who haven't a chance to do that, it definitely seems to be a significant experience for them. So much of what Em and Lori reported on media literacy tonight really kind of comes from, like, I think a key lesson learned in these interviews is that we taught a really short lesson about what AI is, and the students facilitated that, and then we asked them specific questions about AI. And what's interesting is that in general, students are more aware of some of the negative consequences of AI than positive. There's definitely the recognition of the human element and the artificial intelligence kind of in conflict, because I do think that kids understand it in a way maybe that we don't. And obviously it's become kind of part of their world. But what was really clear and evident is after we asked the questions about what they knew about AI after the lesson, they were able to, in some ways, parrot back. Like, this is what I heard, this is what I understand. And they also learned right away. We talked to 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. So just in that very short 5-minute lesson, they understood some of the language that we were using about, like what an algorithm is and what that means and what the patterns AI is following. But they also understand that it's not like this robot. They understand that it's actually much deeper and more complex than that. So really, overall, demonstrated that with good media literacy instruction, students are really responsive to it. And the goal for us is that we would be doing that across the grade levels. And as Em and Lori mentioned tonight, obviously we need folks to be able to facilitate that, but ultimately we would want something for every age group to be able to learn a little bit about AI and its influence. And particularly understanding that there are components of AI that are just going to become more and more critical. Some kids are aware that there's environmental concerns. Some kids are aware that people cheat using AI. And obviously kind of our perception of cheating and what that looks like in school and what that looks like in life. So I love it. It was a great time. You want to share any comments about your experience, Waylon?
For the most part, I think it was very constructive. We got to talk to kids in real life about what the perception of newest technology is and how they view it, and they may view it after learning about what it really does.
Yeah, it was great. I just love watching them interact with each other. It's pretty powerful. So more to come as we, like, part of our retreat time will be like digging a little bit deeper into what that, and then like for us to also say, like, here's the resources that we are gonna put into, like, we're gonna start more heavily at the high school, because obviously you can see a lot of work going on at the high school and then work our way down. But again, you know, to your point, Brenda, around funding, this is a new element of the world, but yeah, we're just expected to now, and I guarantee you, when the long session happens, there's gonna be AI legislation and policies, and probably a class that we're gonna be required to teach.
Unfunded class.
But I'm proud of our teams and the work that they've been.
Yeah. Do you, I know that, unfortunately is one of the things that was cut in middle school, but do you think that because having that class, cause they already had a media class, right?
Yeah.
In middle school, do you think that contributed to like the awareness of some of these students?
No, because we only interviewed
Oh,
elementary
elementary
kids.
school, yeah.
So we, but I do think it does, kind of to your point, it is important that we find the challenges that a lot of times, like in high schools, when there's like a new thing that has to be taught, even if it's not English language arts, they make the English teachers do it. We want to establish something that's like across all curriculums and thinking about resources that it wouldn't just solely, granted, I believe that we need a full-time media literacy specialist. But I also think that all classrooms needed to be like, I think this is something that can be well integrated, like I'm teaching social studies and I can talk about the impacts of AI. They referenced a high school teacher tonight, Carter Wilson, who uses the Notebook LM, but you were able to see him teach and the students interface with what is a contained kind of large language model, because he puts in, basically kind of creates the textbook that the AI model is following it, but it's not going and sourcing to the internet. Can be pretty powerful. So I think that we also want to consider when and where we teach those skills beyond just like a library class or an elective class that a kid takes. And that's really what we're trying to figure out. So one thing I do want to highlight, if you could just scroll up a little bit, one thing I'm going to be recommending, scroll down to the very end, right there, screen time limitations. So one thing I wanted the board to be aware of is that another piece that it is more kind of two parts. One is financial and the other is, kind of philosophical. So in 26, 27, we're going to provide screen time limits. We're going to, like, one thing we're going to be from is we are going to limit the amount of time that we're on the iReady pathways. Like you heard, you heard a little bit of protest. I know that's kind of a movement right now, just in general in the country. So a recommendation of not being on it more than 30 minutes a week. And the platform itself doesn't recommend that kids are on it more than 30 minutes a week. So we're not even really going beyond that. Screen time should not be used for free time or recess activities. The number of computers available for all K2 classrooms is going to be cut in half. Because we won't need them as much. And then no more than 1 hour a week for screen time at school. So starting with those limitations to kind of send a message that we want in the precious time that we have with the kids, we want it to be a mostly human experience. And that would be everything from even curriculums and things that we buy in the future as being more thoughtful, like they said, ways to screen. Are there ways we can do this in pencil and paper? But not to fully, we're not going to fully eliminate the screens because we have to take diagnostic tests on them. We have to take the state tests on them. But ultimately, that would be one of the primary uses. Other than that, we want to, the 6 hours a day we have the kids, we want them to be interacting with each other and their teachers.
For me, when my daughter started, she was talking about, the computers, and it was happening way more often than I like to hear about. I'm like, why are you using these things to play games and stuff? Because in our house and just in general, my kids aren't allowed to have tablets. We don't have them, and then they're at school on the computer. And I get the taking the tests and all of that, but it's frustrating to have that be a recess or free time activity.
Yeah.
It should be something else. So I'm happy to see these changes for the kids. Yeah.
Any questions, comments?
It's a great thing. depending on like their household, right? Some, you said like there's different, there are some with no tablets, but other kids, you know, they spend a lot of time using their tablets and so, but, you know, when they're at school, most of their time, I think it would be good.
Yeah, we're maybe kind of deeper discussions now about, you know, unique situations where we do have kids who spend a lot of time on screen in their household, and it is very hard for them to even, like what Mariah's saying, like, it's an increase for some kids, for other kids, it's a significant decrease. And you've heard, like, it will bring about challenging behaviors because kids are used to getting access when they want it, and if they can't get it, and this is only, so we're talking about strategies to, it also shouldn't be an incentive, because I know that sometimes when we have kids who are struggling with behavior possibly in class, that the incentive or what they're working toward is screen time, which we don't want to reinforce that. I think that we want our kids to be able to learn the skill of leisure. So when you got some free time and you don't have a screen, what can you do? That's fun. Play a board game, read a book, play a game outside. We feel like that is a skill that has to be taught for a lot of our kids, and that's really what we're going to focus on. I'm not saying I don't want kids to earn free time or an extra recess. I just want those things to be done with each other and not with a machine.
I think what makes this conversation so interesting is thinking about how socioeconomic status, if you will, comes into play, or levels of support. And I think about, there are, some households and families where like screen time is essentially babysitter or an incentive. And so when you think about young children, so like, I mean, I can speak for like my kids where we're blessed and fortunate, like they love to play outside. And so screen time is more for educational purposes or watching Michael Jackson videos. Totally different conversation. When I lay it all out there, being blessed and fortunate where it's just like, okay, in the household, 2 parents. So there can be the time to do math and worksheets and all of that for us, as opposed to some households like screen time is just, there's parents working. That's how I get my child to quiet or calm down, or if you will. And so then thinking about, certain habits or breaking them, if you will, coming to the school day. I wonder, like, thinking about this, could this be a study that parents are involved with, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I think parents have to be involved in this broader conversation, right? Because I think for a lot of parents, this will be like, yeah, we welcome this. We want to set those limits. But for other parents, it will be, yeah, I grew up with a single mom. I was raised by the Brady Bunch in some ways, right? Siblings, a sibling to take care of, and that's sometimes what I would do to pass the time. And I think it's present today. I mean, I think it's definitely something that would be good to engage parents in, because I think parents are also going to need strategies of what can kids do other than being on the screen. And it is really tough competition, right? You have something that is very attractive. It raises dopamine levels. It does all the things that, make it easy to say, here, watch this video or look at this screen. So I think one thing the district can do is offer ideas of things that we, not only to our parents, but also to our teachers, of like, if you forgot what free time looks like, here's how you make a choice board, here are different things. I think our educators can be really creative, but we also realize part of that is actually taking away some of the equipment will help, because that's an easier conversation to say, like, well, can we have more computers? And I think that demand will become less and less over time, because I think this topic is just going to get more and more intense as time goes on.
But I think too, not to be prescriptive, but when I look at the portrait of a graduate, like finding creative ways where we can incorporate,
Mhm.
so think about community minded or collaborative, so
Yeah.
like, okay, technology is being put up.
Mhm.
So it's just like, okay, let's do a fun activity, or who can come up with a strategy, or I don't know, who can create a board game?
Mhm.
So then you're kind of like using that time, if you will, to kind of like frame around the portrait of a graduate. So it's just like one of the creative ways we're embedding that. Because when I think about like social media in the high school or anything, like when I work with Elevate Kids, we would do scavenger hunts on like
Mhm.
social media platforms where it's just like, okay, find a hot topic that's going on, in the world, whether it be like the Colin Kaepernick situation or something like that. And then using like critical thinking, but using social media to see like, okay, what's something like the dialogue with,
Yes.
what's like that.
Yeah, lots of ways to leverage tools that can experience for sure.
We used to have to go to computer classes.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, somebody asked me, I think, yeah, that's gonna come back.
The type.
Yeah. Screen, the words just green.
I wanted to give you a quick update on the budget, just with some specifics. I mentioned earlier tonight, so kind of in the end, we reduced 3 elementary teaching positions, one at Shaver, one at Prescott, one at Sacramento. So that takes Prescott and Sacramento to 11 teachers, so you will see blends in those schools. And that is, kind of an unfortunate result of having to get to an odd number of teachers. Russell will maintain the current number of teachers they have simply because the numbers they have, their classes are pretty big already. Middle school, we reduced the reading specialist position by 0.5. We reduced a math position and an elective position and a 0.5 coaching position, an office assistant, an 8th grade on track position, and a special ed administrative assistant. At the high school, we reduced 1 CTE teaching position, 1 science position, 0.5 library, as you heard tonight, a 0.5 coach, 0.5 English language arts, 1 office position, registrar position, athletic worker, which is the person who kind of lines football fields and does all the stuff for athletics. No, we don't have a solution to what we're gonna do next, but we're working on that. And then 3 on-track coordinator positions at the high school. The district reduced 1 certified TOSA position, which was a position that supported student services and Andre's office, teaching and learning. So keep in mind that particularly his role is just really super impacted, particularly with preschool support. And then we are eliminating one of our groundskeeper positions, which again is a tough cut. One thing I didn't want to do is go into buildings and make reductions, because as a principal in the district a long time, we didn't have evening custodians. It was really, really tough. So grounds is an issue. So, it's good with 1 groundskeeper, it's hard to keep up with all that work, but again, just having to make really tough choices. Administrators are going to be taking 5 furlough days. Certified staff will be taking 4 furlough days, which saves 3.5 certified positions. Classified is taking 4 furlough days, and that will save 4 positions. And those positions are actually positions that are at the elementary level. That's why you didn't have classified pets at elementary, because of these furlough. So in the end, you have about 20 total staff instead of, Nick, I think the original number I shared with you was 26. It all kind of balances out with time. We do have a small handful of staff on the classified end who are going to see a slight reduction in hours. That slight reduction in hours actually is going to help us bring those total 4 positions back at elementary, but we did have to reduce some hours and do some things with our preschool grants that we received from the county to make that all work. So that will mean that everyone, our commitment has been to keep everybody at 7 hours, and that's still our commitment for all the 10-month kind of classified employees that are like paraprofessionals working in classrooms, working to support students. So that helped us from having to reduce more more positions. You know that we didn't get summer funding. I've been on a little tour of the region, talking with people about that, including the governor's office and ODE. Last week I emailed you about a press conference that Latino Network was nice enough to put on, just to highlight. One of the things, Brenda, kind of to your point, that is kind of the reform side of things is that Park Rose and Reynolds and Gresham are all school districts that have schools that you would say are an improvement status, which is when the state says, hey, you have an achievement gap. And obviously we have the student body to have an achievement gap. A lot of school districts don't have the student body to have an achievement gap because you have to have, more than 10 students in a kind of measured category for that to measure. And while we receive about $20,000 for each of the schools that are improvement status for the whole year, which obviously just, it doesn't do a whole lot, that when the state then suddenly, who has an accountability bill that is about test scores, frankly, then they take from the schools that are improvement status and they don't give us summer funding. It's just a misalignment of what I think the Oregon State Board of Education just passed all of the guidelines around accountability. But that misalignment has been kind of the fundamental thing I've been looking at. Not to say that other school districts don't deserve it, but again, wouldn't you start with who needs it the most? And this year they changed that formula. And because of politics, some of it frankly is that some rural districts in the past did not get money. And I just think that districts that are being told you have to improve, and now you have legislation that says by 2030, if you don't improve, they're going to take over directing how your money is going to be spent. And that's a scary proposition, considering that the way the money is being directed now isn't helping us. So I am again, we'll just keep fighting that fight. My biggest concern that I said last week at the press conference is that this isn't just 1 year, this is 3 years. 3 summers that many of our kids don't have access to programming. Sun helps, so thank your county commissioners, because Sun is an element of some support that we'll have in the middle of July, but it's not the academic programming that we'd be able to provide had we received even just a little bit of money. So stay tuned, I'll keep you apprised of if any changes happen there. Robert mentioned earlier tonight, I'm really proud that we were able in these really difficult times to finalize our CBA with our teachers. I think it speaks to our relationship, it speaks to the trust that's been built over time, but more importantly, it speaks to the willingness of our educators to make sacrifices, but also they just came to the table to problem solve, right? Like they came they came as colleagues and said, here are some things we want to work on. And I think that more often than not, we were in agreement, and the things that we were in disagreement, we were able to compromise. And I'm just really proud that we were able to do that in 3 sessions, which you will see this summer and next fall. And it's not commonplace. So thank you to Mary, thank you to Andre, thank you to Cherie, Annette from the middle school, and Jessica Stewart Keys from Shaler, just an awesome district team to help us come to a tentative agreement. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
And yeah, Waylon told you a little bit earlier, we do have some new student board representatives. I'm looking forward, I know some of them, but I'm looking forward to getting a chance to meet with them. So when I do meet with them, I'm gonna talk through what we discussed, invite them. I think at our work session, maybe we pen down when we'd want to do those kind of getting to know you interviews. And I'm gonna be double checking that I understand what the commitment is, and I've asked Freddie and Juan to also share kind of what their experience has been like to keep them up to date. Happy to answer any questions about all those wonderful topics.
I have one for a thought. I was thinking about what would the possibility look like to have a call log registry for volunteers, skilled volunteers, such as folks that may have retired or any type of other expertise that they might have, that they could essentially fill in some of the gaps within our production force, such as some of the positions that, you know, were impacted, that they could be able to have these volunteers come in and being able to provide some aid.
Yeah.
To kind of help out things a little bit.
I think it's a great idea. I think a key part of that is having, partnerships. I know you guys heard Sage speak earlier this year. I think those types of partnerships provide an avenue. So you can now, as a board member, I can say as a superintendent, say, hey, this is what Sage is. They help kids with reading and math. It's a minimum of an hour a week. And in obviously some case, we have a lot of particularly retired folks who are helping kids at Prescott, helping kids at the middle school, and that's only grown. And I think about how do we create avenues like that where you can easily say, hey, when that person asks you, you're at the Rotary event, and they're like, well, how can I help? Here's one way. I want to give you this person's phone number. You can come in and start reading to kids, or you can come in if you like math, you can come in and start working with kids with math, because I'm proud of those partnerships, because in these times where we've seen revenues reduced, we've actually seen an increase in the number of people who are willing to help. If any of you know anybody who's good at lining football fields and doing athletic work, I mean, it's things like that, right? That we want to keep those things going, but there's only we will see the difference in terms of the number of people. But I think my priority would be, but particularly with folks who want to help, is that they would be working with our kids, right? I think there is such an influence of, like I talked about, the high school students with our youth, but I think, elders from the community it's a beautiful dream come true to have caring adults who want to see the best for kids. But they also, I think another thing about that narrative is that they see what's going on in our public schools, right? Because some of those folks sometimes are people who may not want to vote for a levy because it's going to impact their fixed income. And I respect and understand that. But I also think sometimes when you spend time with a young person, that especially if they're not your own young person, you see like there's a lot of need, right? There's a lot of need, there's a lot of support that's needed. So yeah, I think Adolfo, it would be good to look at other organizations that could be helpful in that same way, and definitely intent on doing that. But right now, I'm just really proud, and hopefully Sage will come back and share some of the more wonderful results they've been getting at the middle school in Prescott, because we're helping well over 100 kids right now, which is great.
Them in action at Prescott.
Did you? Yeah. Every day they're there every day.
Great to see them in the classroom.
They've got their own classroom, and sadly that's just because we don't have as many kids enrolled, but it's nice that they have their own classroom. Other questions or comments?
So for the summer learning,
Yeah.
so the only thing that we're currently, unless, something been out there, something
Yeah.
happens. We're just gonna offer like go to the Sun program, and then I don't know, that sometimes Elevate runs a summer
Elevates,
program.
yeah, so Elevate and Sun will be running simultaneous, camps. In the heart of July, so right after the holiday through the end of the month. They'll serve about 60 kids per school. Whereas just, normally it's hundreds
That's what I'm saying.
versus like,
So the
but
impact is like
60 kids, more than, and the nice part about that is we'll do our meal program at the middle school throughout the summer. We'll do credit recovery at the high school because we want to help kids who've gotten behind. And then in August, Brenda, will have like the county provide some support for what we call EKT, so extended kindergarten transition, early kindergarten transition. So that is like 20 kids. But again, normally with summer films, here's a great example of just how challenging it becomes, is like, so if the county is doing it, we normally hire our teachers, right? And we would use our summer funds to help pay our certified teachers to be there for that early kindergarten transition. The county only has so much money. So they can only afford to pay people $25 an hour. So we're like, okay, well, that's likely not going to intrigue a certified teacher to teach the class. And now we have that dilemma of like, okay, is there a way we can figure out to support, because it's a worthy investment on our part. You're getting 20 kids who are heading into kindergarten, like they get 3 weeks of practice with the routines and being in the school. It's a wonderful program. So we're navigating that right now. Like, is there a way we can figure out how to pay, for teachers to run that program in addition to the using the county dollars? But that's just another story of that's something that we've taken for granted because we've used summer money to help pay for, which really, we were running programs all summer and we had summer money. Whereas now we will have the sun and unfortunately we'll have some Elevate support. Elevate will primarily focus on the kids that are on their caseload. And then Elevate will do their basketball camp the first week of August.
Are we still doing ninth grade counts or is that?
Yeah, so Elevate is our provider for ninth grade counts. So I believe that Serena, one of our teacher mentors, will be running that program. And again, a lot of that will be just more restricted to a certain number of kids. And that is a 8th grade to 9th grade transition that is about 4 weeks long. Yeah.
And Latino Network doesn't do that anymore. I know that.
Latino Network does it, and the way they do it for us is based on they have a certain number of slots, which reality is like it's 5 or 6
It's not
kids.
that many.
But they're kids that are connected to Latino Network that go to school in our district. And the kids get the quarter credit for doing the class as do the kids who do it with Elevate. Because we're the ones who kind of sign off on the experience. And so we've done this with Latino Network and Elevate for quite a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I got. You remember that, right?
I know, I'm trying to find my nephew out.
I'm trying to give the board the first shot at the title, but I have a question.
No, just the summer learning grant update. Thanks for that, Michael. I think for me the biggest concern when it comes to summer months is just the spike in like violence within the city.
Yeah.
I think it's just unfortunate that when you think about East County and statistics and trends and unfortunately kids don't have any other places to go and school. Pretty much free time and so and I'm not by no means am I wishing that it's just very concerning that thinking about the powers that be, if you will, not looking at things of that nature how it can be disruptive to or not conducive to helping kids, having things to do with their time.
Yeah. An important consideration that's not a consideration in the application for summer learning. But this is something that we as a collective, when we talk about funding and misalignment of resources, this is a perfect example of that. Say we need to improve and then of course the governor provides an order that says like can't cut school days, it's a priority. There's a lot of mixed messages that need better alignment, in my opinion.
So, with the summer learning grant, do you usually ask for a specific amount of money? And what did we ask for this year?
We asked for $400,000.
Okay.
Yeah. And Corey, that comes from that's another thing I really pressed the state on is that their determining factors for how much was allocated was a little confusing. They did provide some information that after the fact, I can, as a superintendent read through it and understand it. But yeah, I mean, as an example, 2 East County districts that did receive funding, including Portland Public Schools, all received $1 million. Okay. $400,000 is a really robust program here and can support 250 to 300 kids. So that's what we were hoping to provide. And the grant that was part of the legislation is $35 million each year for 2 years. And then we'll see what happens this coming summer. I'm sorry, next legislative session to see like, is there any noise that, because the bigger professional organizations like COSA, like some of the school districts got money, right? It's just, I think Reynolds, Gresham and Park Rose are just unique to your point. Our kids, so many of our kids don't have a place to be. Summer slide, as they refer it to, is a real thing. Kids without those experiences, those opportunities in the summer, they frankly aren't talking as much, they're not doing as much. And it's that much harder for them to get started back at the engine running at the end of August, beginning of September when school starts back up. And so we spend a lot of time helping kids re-engage. Speaking of screens, detox from hours on the screen per day. It's an uphill battle.
And to kind of add to that, just in my previous experience when I did work with Elevate.
Okay.
And so like, for example, there would only be previously like you said, 60 kids. Whereas with the summer funding provided, the ability and resources for about 300 something odd kids. But the cool thing about that too, high school students were working with those students, so they were getting paid, so that funding. So when you think about the connection of, as Mike was alluding to, where like kids having something to do, so they have a job, a sense of pride and responsibility. And it's all connected, but they're working with kids within their district. And so unfortunately, not having that resource or those resources to do that, but also too thinking about learning loss. So like, Michael was talking about, just kind of like that drop off, in the summer, like not doing any academic work. So coming back kind of, just droggy because you weren't doing any learning and adding in the technology piece. So it's just like, I had to be on the screen because mom or dad or aunt, whoever has to work. And then I have to go back to school, and I didn't have access to that summer program. So that's why. That's really bad.
All right, that's all I got for you tonight.
All right. So next will be reading of public comment.
No public comments,
Right.
no action items.
Future agenda items. This please make sure Vincent's and it has something to actually do with district. So yeah. All right, correspondence or announcement. So Portland teams find purpose through the Pathfinder Club.
So if you guys aren't aware of Pathfinder, Thursday evening at Park Rose High School, they release a book every year. And Vic Trujillo, who is one of the most amazing adults I've ever met in my life, he works with our kids and just does amazing work. Many of the kids that are part of Pathfinder, any kid can go to Pathfinder, but the primary purpose is helping support kids who have been impacted by family members who've been incarcerated. It's just really incredible to see the work of the kids, and Thursday will be the celebration of the book release. Obviously, I'll bring the book to you if you're not able to make it on Thursday, but Vic had a nice piece done in the Portland Observer just celebrating the students at Park Rose High School, and he shouted out Molly and Kenny, and he shouts me out too. Thanks to Vic. And then the other, just anytime a staff member is recognized, Sources of Strength is a program that is focused on suicide prevention, and our counselors work with Sources of Strength, the organization, and Chris Gifford, the counselor at Russell Elementary School, was honored with the Sources of Strength Award last week on May 20th. And so you look at this long list of educators and you get to the elementary showcase. There's Chris Gifford, Park Rose School District, Russell Elementary. So congratulations to Chris. Well deserved. He's an amazing counselor. So just wanted to share that with you all tonight. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so upcoming meetings, working session Monday, June 8th. Business meeting June 22nd. Organizational meeting July 13th. which will be virtual only, and then board retreat, August 13th. Which also replaces the August 10th working session. Upcoming community events, you can look at those on your own time. Say it like that. So with that being said, this meeting is adjourned at 9:13 p.m.